yes, the country is on the brink, although I don't think a civil war would be the actual worst potential outcome. It's possible, but quite unlikely to happen. Like, we've had this quote revolution a few months ago, right? A couple of months ago. It's all gone by now. Nobody remembers, right? All the flags are gone. It's just kind of faded away. But there are a few pressure points in our lives in Britain right now, which making everything almost impossible to fix or to avoid the total collapse. And I think this is the real risk of total collapse, more risky than a civil conflict. And as somebody who's been living here for really more than 15 years, I've built my life around here. I get family, some of you who's watching me, you know it, right? But for all of you new to my channel, I've been here for long enough. I've integrated as much as it's literally possible, and I'm still integrating more. It's just like never-ending job for an immigrant. But you need, these pressure points which are around us, until we can actually address them and start working around them, that nothing will be done. It's like the government increasing taxes to fix the economy. It's the dumbest thing ever. It will not be nothing will be fixed by this, right? It's just going to be more money thrown into the government to just never-ending spending, hole. So I know many of you would want to say it, but you can't because you're natives and you'll be called names and you'll be labelled. I'm an immigrant, so I have probably a little bit more freedom to say it. I'll be gentle, but I'll say what needs to be said. I'll name the pressure points. At least I can do this much for you guys, as for all my native friends, right? As an immigrant, that's the best I can do for you right now. And like I say, I'm very positive about England long term, but we're gonna have to go through this storm and bumpy road ahead of us. So I think this is how British people feel about their country. Let's start with the religious differences and the cultural differences. And I think the best example to actually see it in real life is to travel to places like Luton. And for all of you who have ever been to Luton, you know what I mean. For all of you who are outside of England or never been to Luton, don't worry, you haven't missed much. It's basically a majority of non-white, quite large town, English town, very close to London, with a big Muslim population, where apparently there's like 150 languages spoken. You see, on its own, each one of those things wouldn't mean anything bad, but if you put all these things together, it creates the environment which is hostile to the natives, British people, right? And there are still natives living there. I actually been to Luton a couple of years ago. I was invited to speak to at one of the schools there to local kids, teenagers, about my story as an immigrant and the success behind it when I started from nothing. And I can tell you, these were normal kids from all sort of backgrounds, but I've spent some time with them, teenagers, and they were very interested. They wanted to know how to get better in life and things like this. And from the surface, it looked all normal. But if you look into deeper problems around the city, you will understand it's not normal. It's not what British people would expect from their own countries, cities to be. You see, the biggest problem, something I never understood about immigration in the West, in Britain as well, obviously, is when you have somebody coming from another country and you ask them, hey, where are you from? Country A. And they say, okay, where's it better, here or in your country? And they say, in my country is better. And then you ask, so why would you even stay here? And that immigrant would say, oh, because I want to improve my life, or I want to get better life. It makes no sense. Okay, I could never understand this, and I don't think British people can understand. I just don't know how we ended up in a position where we actually have people saying these things, and we thinking it's okay. Like, there's this debate about immigration removal, removing immigrants from the UK, and who knows, I might be one of them. There's the narrative is getting stronger and stronger. I mean, the Labour, that lady Mahmoud, whatever it's her position, I don't know. She's now like the most right-wing, left-wing politician, right? So it's like they all know soon enough we're gonna hear that everybody goes, everybody, whoever is, I've had some of you commenting, Jim, you commented on one of my previous videos saying that because I'm going to Manchester speaking, I was invited to speak to Polish youth from the universities there. You said, I am not going to actually building bridges because we will be speaking Polish. You see, this is where we're losing a little bit, I think, touch with reality. But anyway, we ended up where we are right now. And places like Luton, you can ask there, and you can go there and ask people living there. They'd be thinking this is all good. That's where they want to be. They like living there. But if you ask natives, they say it's absolutely dead place. Everyone's on benefits. Nobody does any work. Nobody wants to work. And that's not something okay. And that is number one pressure point. And there are places like this across Britain. There are towns like this. And frankly, I don't think removing immigration will do anything. It's like increasing taxes to fix the economy. Removing immigrants from the country to fix Luton is not possible. You would have to remove 3/4 of the city. It cannot. Look, it's a different things about accepting reality the way it is and dealing with it, or different things about wishing the reality was the way we want it. Two different things. So I would advise my British friends to actually focus on what it is and it's possible, instead of just being driven away in this narrative that it's okay to just remove 3/4 of a city, because it cannot happen. Even if that was okay, but it's not going to happen. But that's one. The other thing is about confusion around British identity, and this is something I've been looking for, the identity, for a very long time myself as an immigrant. It's important for me to, if I want to integrate, I need to understand what I'm integrating into and what is required from me in order to be accepted. And make no mistake, I feel very accepted by the majority of people. I have many British native friends. Wherever I go, most of you watching me on this channel, and most of my audience is not English-speaking audience. They're very friendly. They fully support me and what I say. So make no mistake, I don't find myself being left out or lost or anything. I feel accepted, but what I don't feel is confidence in understanding what the British values are anymore. And I think this is what British people also say, because their values, they've had values for the decades, if not centuries, and recently they've been removed forcefully from them, and you now can't put a English flag out on there because it might offend some people, which is it's ridiculous. You can't speak English at some places, maybe even because it's seen as oppressive. You can't say you're proud of being British. You can't wear British clothes, British emblems, flags, symbols on you, because some people might find it offensive. This is similar to what I said in the first point. It's like, why would you let people in who say their country is better to stay in your country? Why would you let people in to say they're offended by celebrating your own national identity, saying this is wrong? This is what British people hate. And me as an immigrant being part of it, I don't understand. That confuses me a lot. What are the British values, and why are the people supposed to be guarding those values? The politicians, a leadership chosen by the British people, are not doing it. It's beyond comprehension. I can't get my head around this. This is something I'm really struggling with, and been struggling for many years. And bear in mind, I have kids born in this country. They have British nationality. They speak British. They speak English. They live English way of living. Like they think they're English. They feel English, right, in their hearts and their minds. Although I am Polish, they don't feel Poles. But it was me who's trying to make this clear for them. This is a country, your country. This is your values. You need to follow. You need to, accept. And it's not easy for me to understand what are those values anymore. So if you can help me out, my British friends, let me know in the comments. What are the core values we still stand by, and we can actually pass on to our kids? It's crucial. The next one, it's going to be a big one, and it's a boats in Dover, right? Arriving every day with hundreds of people. We're being told here in the UK by our own government that there's nothing to worry. They finally figure it out. They've got a deal signed, a one in, one out, meaning, one person comes in on the boat, therefore we're going to send one person back to France. And then the next day you see in the media, in the newspapers, headlines, 500 people came in the boat today. And we don't see 500 people being sent away the next day. And then you have on top of it millions of pounds being sent, hundreds of millions of pounds being sent to France in order for them to sort of like even bribe them to keep these boats from coming, but they don't do it. And then what the British government does? Nothing. There's no outrage. There's no saying, hey, French, that is enough. We're going to have to now do something in return because you just don't respect the deal we have agreed to. No. It just they keep coming. And then these people are being, put into these hotels across different communities, and it's just, it tears communities apart. And understandably, you suddenly have all this bunch of people from God knows where. They don't even know where they're from probably and why they're there, wandering around at night, stalking people, ending up arrested for really bad things. And locals understandably are really getting pissed off. It's like, it's not safe. It's just suddenly out of, within a day, like a few days, a whole community is being turned upside down. And what has been, I think, recently really, really annoying everyone, not even annoying, pissing everyone out, is these people get arrested and then they sent to jail. And then the next day you have an article saying that somehow there's like 20 people released from jail accidentally. Accidentally? How do you release somebody from jail accidentally? You just left the door open or something? I don't understand. And you see, when these people are being released accidentally, it's never the British mum who's posted something offensive on the Facebook and she's been jailed for like 2 years. It's always these people who are here coming illegally and they're doing really bad things. And I mean, to be fair, I was really surprised to see it wasn't bigger outrage about this accidental prison releases, but this is something which is really, really, really makes people angry. There is no such a thing as accidental prison release as far as I'm concerned. They are like more than one pair of doors. It's just so dumb. But it's been done. And then there's this manhunt. And they're chasing these poor people. Poor people, they have nothing, right? It's just, again, this is just the people, they don't understand why here. But that's a different story. But that's one of the things which people really hate. Then you have the older generations saying, the end of something. I'd say the end of empire, I call it. And this is a generation, the older generation apathy. They've lost hope. Again, I can understand this. They've seen everything falling apart in front of them, being betrayed by people around them, by the ones who promised, who swore to protect them, to save them. And they just old enough to say there's no need, there's no point. It's like this war veteran the other day on the TV. He said it wasn't worth it. It was very sad to see it, heartbreaking. If you think about it, he's sacrificed everything. His friends sacrificed ultimately everything, including their own lives. So the 50, 60 or 100 years later, people come in and say that it was not worth it. And this translates to this apathy and the older generations just not caring anymore. They're just being completely forgotten, thrown away from the community and let suffer on their own without any help, any hope on the horizon. And on the other side, you've got very young generation who are just, like I said in my previous point, they're not even aware of what are the values. And then you have a lot of people saying mean things, nasty things to people who are born here, but maybe from different backgrounds, parents with different backgrounds, saying you're not British, you're not one of us. And that doesn't help, right? These people, they're born here, they are you. I'm not you. I'm here, I'm trying to be just part of you. But people born here are like you. They need to be treated like it. They need to be told, you are us, be with us, rather than just being told constantly, you are different. We don't accept you. Because guess what? That really doesn't help. I don't know how to explain this to people who are just saying these things, but it does not help. If you think that is the opposite of what is actually doing, right? The outcome of saying these things. And if you ever had kids, as I have, you understand how much they actually absorb from around us, right? From around themselves, watching us adults speak, do things. So if you keep saying things to young adults or young teenagers, things like this, they get angry. And then you're going to get 20 or 10 years later, really, mess up people because they will be just confused what's going on, where they are, why they not accepted. Censorship and the lack of free speech, although the Prime Minister is so eagerly saying on TV in front of Donald Trump, because he was embarrassed by one of the journalists, one of the very few left out there, that there is no free speech. And they keep saying there is free speech. No, there isn't. Everybody knows there is not. You can't say things you won't really say. Even me recording this video, I need to be conscious of what I'm saying and how I'm saying, because I don't want to get into trouble. I want to say as much as I can without actually upsetting the system. And without truth, without actually being able to speak freely and think freely, there can be no truth. And without truth, there can not be freedom. And without freedom, there cannot be a system, the way it was. So the people are losing their faith. And what's worse is there are some groups which are more protected than the others. There are things you can say about white people openly. Nobody will do anything about this. But if you say about any different racial group, you will end up in trouble. You might even end up being arrested or losing your job and stuff like this. And that would be something we wouldn't even think about not a long time ago, 10, 15 years ago. Now it's sort of everywhere. You see it everywhere. I see it everywhere. You've got these groups of people just staying together because of the political belief, religion, or skin color. And again, some of those groups are more protected than others, and this will not lead anywhere nice. It will divide the country further, and it's not gonna, at some point, it's not gonna be even fixable, and there will be no conflict over this across the country. It's just gonna divide country into places where you just won't be able to go to if you look different. And this obviously goes to this betrayal from the police and forces, which were supposed to protect British people, and they did not for the decades because they were afraid to be called racists, basically. I mean, this, and again, there was no, up until now, there was no consequences. And this is what I think pissing everyone out most, because not only it happened, and it's been happening for a long, long time, and it was being covered by the people who were meant to be protecting everyone, but there was zero consequences for people doing it. And then you got this, the government bringing up all this human rights and all of this nonsense, non-existing. Look, there is no international laws anymore. It's all changed within the last few years. Can you see what's happening in the countries and the Middle East and elsewhere? There is no order anymore. You can't claim human rights for somebody who's just been destroying people's lives for like 10 years. There is no human rights there. He's destroyed his own right to have human rights. But people are not getting the justice, and justice denied, or that justice delayed is justice denied. And if you don't have a justice, then you can't fix anything and move ahead. You can't heal. That's where we are. People just feel they're being replaced. And this is way past the conspiracy theory claims. There's a big part into it. It's just natives have no kids. Yes, there are reasons for it. And it's across the whole world. At least Western world. But at the same time, governments are bringing people from other places which are hostile to the natives, at least culturally. And these people having many kids, and they're just being supported by the government, by their own government, by the people paying taxes. So it's kind of feeling for the people here. It's like, I'm paying for my own replacement. That's the sentiment in Britain and the West is. And it's not just the migration, really. It's how government treats native population. It's just treating it unfairly. There's no fair rules. It's not fair to have a cities or towns where half of a town is on the benefits, and the other half needs to work and pay taxes to cover those. And then you have the Labour government saying we need to increase your taxes because there's not enough money to pay for it. It's insane. It's it's just insane. It cannot work. You can't have just, and people feel this way. Look, they just feel, you have schools where there's less and less native kids. You have values of the country being removed. Have a apparently, I don't know if it's true or not, I've just seen it yesterday, something like Tesco's refusing to use term Christmas in the stores. They rather use holiday, whatever they always use. They just come out with this old nonsense, right? The words, the gimmicks, to just go around it just to please one group and make others angry. And the others, the ones be made angry, are the ones who are from here. That's their place, their land, their country. And don't go into this, they took it from somebody else. This is ridiculous. They're really angry about this. And again, I'm not surprised really. And this brings to this, and this it causing all these mass protests popping up all the time and boiling kind of point of feeling of lost hope and what's next. And there was this, I think this last happened a couple of months ago. There was this supposed to be a revolution. It felt like this for a moment, but it all is gone now, like I said. And this is why I keep saying that there will be no civil war. We can be so easily steered away from, or steered a certain way we want to, the government or system want us to think. It's very easy to pacify us. It's very easy to, keep us occupied or busy, or just, screw us so much that we're just going to have no energy to do anything but just to think about our own survival. And that's where the communities fall apart. The spirit dies, national spirit. But all of these things point into a total collapse. If you think about, on top of it, lack of money, lack of purpose, lack of clarity of where to go, all the conflicts happening right now, which again, British government is so eager to be part of, although it is like literally not ready for any of it, but for some reason they just, yes, let's do it, let's send more money, yes, send more this, let's send more that. It's like, people don't want that. People are fed up. Nobody wants that apart from the government leaders who have the lowest approval rates in decades. Again, this is think about it, right? It's like we're being pushed left and right in this country. Natives are being literally laughed at by the people they don't choose. And then they have the lowest approval rate, and they still do it. It's something hard, again, to understand. Like, we could actually ended up in positions like this, but we did because we were too comfortable over the last few decades. We are too good, so we have to go through the pain now, and that's where we are. And if you add on collapsing services, lack of safety, and declining value of money, raising inflation, crashing inflation, raising prices, and winter coming, it's not looking good. I feel like it will actually collapse sooner than later. I don't think it can go much further, much longer. But this is how we feel in the UK. This is how natives feel. I'd love to hear from you if you are native, if you're an immigrant as well, because there are many of you immigrants, similar like me, feeling this, and we feel sorry for it because we don't want this, and we want to be part of something good. We want to build this country for better. We want to be part of a community of this still great country, a nation, but we're being prevented from doing it by our own leaders. There is a pressure, more and more, mounting pressure, which I think sort of works. And that's why you can see Labour now becoming most right-wing government out of all the left-wing governments, which is, again, the Labour is just such a... If anyone ever going to vote Labour for the next, 10 years, I think they should be maybe put on that boat, or under this, all the immigrants they want to remove from the country. Because if you can't learn from this, what you just seen last few years, then you're never going to learn. And you're going to keep choosing the same people like with this. Like, sorry, man, it's just hopeless, right? But this is where we are. Let me know. I would love to hear from you if you're a native, an immigrant, if you agree with my points. Maybe you want to add something. I don't think the civil war is the biggest threat. I think the actual total collapse of the country is the biggest threat. It's kind of unavoidable, in my opinion. I don't think we can avoid it. It cannot be extended much more, the agony. We're going to have to accept it, take it on the chin, and deal with whatever we have left, and then rebuild whatever we can. Will we send all the immigrants, including myself, away? Maybe. I don't know. It's possible to some degree, but it's going to cause more pain, more problems than it will actually solve anything. But that's what I think. And that's what I see around me. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, please do leave me a like. Consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you for all your support, all the likes, watching, all the comments, and still have a great day. It's going to be all right.